Hi everyone, I am Jayapal Caleb and you're listening to Daily Newsings. Daily Newsings are musings on the daily news. The Indian government deported 169 illegal Bangladeshi immigrants on Sunday. They were flown in an Indian Air Force flight which took off from Ghaziabad and landed at Agartala. The Hindu newspaper's 27th May edition has this piece of news right next to a news on how the Bangladeshi military is tightening up its border with Myanmar in an attempt to prevent Rohingya refugees coming in from that country. And the manner in which the Indian government's deportation of the Bangladeshi immigrants was done reminds us of the manner in which the US government deported 104 illegal Indian immigrants. How do we as Christians think about immigration, illegal immigration, and governments closing their borders? The world as we know it today is the result of different waves of migration. Every people group has migrated to their current place at one time or another, and in most cases they did so against the wishes of people groups who already inhabited the place. Does this make illegal migration today right? Absolutely not. But it is a truth that we would do well to remember. When arguments are made about a place losing its culture due to shifting demographics, let us remember that the culture we are talking about was itself built by the suppression of earlier cultures of the place. The Bible calls us Christians to love our neighbors. As good as that instruction is, it also raises further questions. Who are my neighbors? Or who can I be a neighbor to? Can we not consider the people from neighboring countries our neighbors? If yes, why not allow them into the country if they are trying to better their lives by coming here? The problem is that sometimes an act of love to one person could be a disservice to another. My own countrymen are also my neighbors, and allowing everyone into the country could lead to unhappiness for everyone, because existing social structures could break down with large numbers of immigration. The loving thing to do for my neighbors could be to close the borders of my country so that the resources of the country can benefit my countrymen rather than others. Leaders primarily have a responsibility to serve their people. Furthermore, what about the people in the neighboring countries who do not seek to enter my country illegally? Would it not be more loving to seek a long term solution for everyone in our neighboring countries? To that end, would it not be wiser to spend our limited resources on building our neighboring countries rather than spend those resources on the few people who enter the country illegally? As Christians, we cannot also ignore the fact that in the Bible, God is shown to be especially concerned for the sojourner or the foreigner in the land. We cannot ignore the specific command God gives his covenant people to not oppress a foreigner. See Exodus 22:21. God grounds this command in the truth that God's people themselves were foreigners in Egypt. In other words, the truth of Israel's being exiles and foreigners ought to instruct the way they treat foreigners. And Peter applies this idea of being exiles for God's people in the new covenant as well. 1 Peter 2:11. The Bible also states that every good and perfect gift is from above. God gives good gifts to us out of his goodness and grace. Our posture towards our shepherd ought not to be one of entitlement to the resources of the land. More specifically, the people of God are specifically told that the land they possess ultimately belongs to God. To state it differently, the people of God are merely stewards who use God's resources in love and service of neighbors. Where does all of this leave us? It leaves us without clear answers, but it leaves us with attitudes and postures of the heart. We might support tighter borders, stricter measures to prevent illegal migration, but we would do it not because we and the people of our country are entitled to the resources of the land that people of other countries are not entitled to. We do not do it because we are afraid of our culture being lost. We do it because we love our countrymen, and we would do it while seeking or praying for more sustainable long-term solutions that would bless the nations around us. Or we might ask that our country be more open to people seeking refuge or an opportunity to better their life in our country. We do this not because we are seeing them as just resources who will contribute to our economy. We welcome them because it is the loving thing to do. But even if we consider tight borders a necessity, we do so while respecting the dignity of human life. While stewardship of the country is important, recognizing that humans are created in the image of God is a greater call. Deporting people using military aircraft in a highly publicized manner does not respect the dignity of human persons as created in the image of God, as opposed to, say, by subtly sending them back through commercial airlines. At the end of the day, however, faithful Christian living is not in policies and large-scale societal changes. It is lived in a day-to-day manner in seemingly small ways. Loving one's neighbor does not begin with immigration policies at the national or state level. It begins by entertaining the stranger at home. opening the house to anyone in need, not just our friends and families, or to characterize the lives of the followers of Jesus, the same Jesus who, while we were still enemies, brought us into the family of God. Thank you for listening to Daily Musings.